The Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Real Doctor Who fans with real Doctor Who opinions.
Hello and welcome to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. I'm your host, Brett, and in this episode, we are experiencing a time and space travel episode as I am going to be doing a year in review for the Big Finish releases from 2011. Yes, I have compiled some lists. I've focused mainly on the Doctor Who titles from Big Finish during that year, but some non-Doctor Who titles did come up because I think that is worth discussing. Doing a year in review of 2011, I have my top 10 favorite releases for 2011, as well as the fans from the timescales top 10 and lowest 10 ranked releases from 2010 or to 11. Sorry. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, because this is going to be a fun episode. All right. Well, before I even begin, I decided this is something we've never done in the podcast before. And so I decided to see if I could use Twitter and go back in time to figure out if there's any discussions that occurred revolving around any of these releases back then. Now, this did not come out in 2011, but it does focus on a release that did come out, the Feast of Axos, the main range release, I think 143. We'll get to the exact number later, but I find this interesting. So this came from Twitter from February of 2022, so 11 years later, says that Jamie Robinson really did accidentally create the Flash theme tune in 2011 for Doctor Who's Feast of Axos. It keeps catching me off guard with the flickering up and down notes. #Big Finish. So I am very interested in that because that is one of my favorite TV shows. Well, the first couple seasons, I have not yet watched the last three because it's just been not the best. But I want to, before I even get into the review for 2011, I want to see if I can compare and contrast the Flash theme with the music that has been mixed, I guess, by Jamie Robinson, according to this person. Jamie Robertson. So I'm going to do a compare and contrast. So I've skimmed through where I think it starts in the Feast of Axos music suite. And I do have it, queued up to where I think the main part of this is going to be occurring in the Flash theme song, or the title intro theme. So I'm going to start off with the Flash. Or what I should do is I should do 1 and 2, but it'll be easy to figure out. So this is the Flash intro theme. Maybe. It's refreshing. All right. So, whoops. That wasn't supposed to happen. All right. Okay. So here we go. This is the theme to the Flash. I am Barry Allen. I am the fastest man alive. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to now switch to the Feast of Axos music theme that I'm going to start this where I think occurs in 1 minute 55 in the music suite. So let's just see. Whoop. Okay, we got some violins here. Oh, interesting. All right, I'm going to go back to the Flash theme. I'm just going to scroll back. Oh, all right, let's just go back to the Feast of Axos here. This is riveting, I know. Yeah. I think it has, I'm not a music director, but I feel as though it has the notes, the pace, I don't even know if that's like musical jargon right there, but this is what you're getting on the Doctor Who Alhambra podcast. Come on, do the that would be great. Ooh. That would be so distracting because, I think I would be waiting for like this. Bum, bum. Oh, come on. I am Barry Allen. Years ago, I was struck by lightning in a freak accident. My mom was killed by the reverse flash. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway. All right. That was a fun compare and contrast. All right. Back to Feast of Access. Yeah. I'm going to have to give this a re-listen. That interesting. Very interesting. All right. Well, I guess with that, I will get underway and do the year in review for 2011 from Big Finish titles. I'm going to go through all of what they currently have. Well, what I currently have. And I will stop every so often. And, I will be stopping more than every so often to give my thoughts and whatnot. Then I will end with the best of, worst of. Well, not worst of, but, I probably should do a most underrated Big Finish audios. That sounds like it would be a fun story or podcast, whatever. All right. So first on the docket, we have January. That's generally how we start most years. January 2011 from Big Finish. We have the Eighth Doctor Adventures basically winding up with 3 episodes. The third one to the very end before they close it off, before they, do Dark Eyes and continue that on with another companion. We have the Eighth Doctor Adventures, Series 4, Episode 8, Prisoner of the Sun by Eddie Robson. We have Jago and Lightfoot box set Series 2, which had 4 stories, Lightfoot and Sanders by Justin Richards, The Necropolis Express by Mark Morris, The Theater of Dreams by Jonathan Morris, and we have the Ruthvian Inheritance by Andy Lane. Now, I am a fan of Jago and Lightfoot, but I personally don't believe it really, for me, took off until it had me intrigued in Series 3. Series 4, I'm not going to say that. Not going to say that. That was, my brain was trying to get me to do a pun, and nope, puns are the lowest form of comedy. Anyway, we had Series 4, which was even further more fantastic. Series 5 for me is where everything from Jago and Lightfoot took off. So, yeah, I probably do owe Jago and Lightfoot to go back and revisit some of the earlier seasons and box sets. Because I do, after doing this, I do have some projects in the works for the podcast. And who knows, maybe that's going to be one of them. Anyway, also in January of 2011, we have one of my favorite main range releases. I think I'd say probably top 20, 25 or so. And that is main range release number 143, The Crimes of Thomas Brewster by Jonathan Morris. Jonathan Morris, always a fantastic talent. Then we have the Companion Chronicles, Series 5, Episode 7, Perry and the Piscon Paradox. Now, that is alliteration to its finest. This is written by Nev Fountain, who is married to Nicola Bryant. And I find this probably one of the better Companion Chronicles of all time. So, starting off 2011, January, pretty good. I think personally, Prisoner of the Sun, and I cannot recall Prisoner of the Sun for the life of me. So I'm just going to pull it up and see if it can spark any memories. So it says 6 years after being captured by the galaxy-spanning organization known as the Consensus, the Doctor lives inside a high-tech complex at the heart of an unstable sun, condemned to an eternity of maintaining its systems. A moment's carelessness could cause the star to collapse and the death of billions. Watched over by liquid guards, the Mercurials, the Doctor's only company at the heart of the sun, is his assistant, Daphne? The latest in the line of android helpers, but rebels have their eyes on the sun and its lowly controller. As we prepare to risk, and are we prepared to risk even a galactic cataclysm to secure the Doctor's release? Interesting. That does sound like a fantastic story. That's one of the things I also think about doing is revisiting some of the Eighth Doctor adventures. I was never really keen on them because I didn't feel as though they really had enough oomph to compel me to, because it ended in an hour and I feel as though they were just barely starting to breathe most of them. Like, for example, Max Warp, which is the best Eighth Doctor adventures of all time, was perfectly suited for a 1 hour episode. So, but again, that's just my opinion. But yeah, I think first off, starting off in January 2011, very good jumping on point for those of you that, if you, one of these days, I probably should just, make a list and retro review a month of time. That would be fun too. I'll have to write that down. Brett, remember to write this down in the near future when you're, editing the podcast. You got it, Brett. Okay. That would be creepy if I was arguing with myself. Anyway, February 2011 brings us the second to last. What is that called? I can't even remember. Scream it into your iPhone or whatever. The penultimate. There we go. My brain worked. Thank you, brain. The penultimate release for the Eighth Doctor adventures, entitled Lucy Miller, written by Nick Briggs. Spoilers, Doctor gets out of the sun from the previous episode. And I know this is well loved by lots of people. I think I might owe it to myself to re-listen to it, but I'm going to say, that'd be fun. Most underrated Big Finish releases podcast, and possibly the most overrated Big Finish release podcast. Ooh. Okay, take a note, Brett. You got it, Brett. All right, there we are. So, yeah, I find Lucy Miller and To the Death very overrated, but it's been a while since I've listened to them. Main release episode 144, The Feast of Axis by Mike Maddox, which has a soundtrack that eerily sounds familiar to the theme song to The Flash. The Doctor Who Short Trips Volume 2 got dropped. FYI, if you're ever interested in listening to those, just wait till the Big Finish miss sales, and you'll be able to pick them up for $1.03. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, $1.03. Yep, that's exactly what I mean. Companion Chronicles winds down the month. Again, I kind of really like the output way back when. I feel as though we were not over bombarded by all of these releases. And this one is a very special release, which is the Companion Chronicles. Whoops, just 1 second. I closed that screen down. Series 5, Episode 8, The Perpetual Bond by Simon Guerrier. Now, what makes that special is this starts the Oliver, was it Hardy? No, that's the guy. That's the comedian. What's his name? Oliver. What is his name? Harper. I was close. All right. Yeah. Anyway, so that starts the Oliver Harper trilogy, which is a Perpetual Bond, and we have 3 episodes in that trilogy, all coming out in this calendar year, which again, I think Big Finish would be, I think they should really start doing that. I really appreciate that that's what they're doing with the 13th Doctor releases, giving one release a month, giving people something to look forward to each month, kind of like a monthly release or range. I just think that that is a very smart thing to do because, at the time when I was picking these up, I had no idea that they were going to be as closely connected or released together that as they were. You're used to Big Finish at the time doing either a back-to-back-to-back trilogy or kind of like what they did with Nigel Fair's and the Leela trilogy, where they had it like spread out over many, many different years and Companion Chronicle seasons. And I will tell you, I think the Perpetual Bond, this trilogy, is so strong. So strong. I'm very tempted to just do a trilogy of terror. No, that would be horror podcast. A trilogy review / release of some of these really impactful, important, needs to be listened, and I think valued to for the future of the podcast. Again, Brett, take a note. You got it, boss. Okay. Thank you. He listens very well. Just depends on if he has the attention span to be able to follow through with it. March release for 2011, we have the conclusion of the 8th Doctor Adventures, Series 4, Episode 10, To the Death, written by Nick Briggs. Main range release, Industrial Evolution by Eddie Robson. Gallifrey Series 4, which had 4 stories. Reborn by Gary Hopkins. Disassembled by Justin Richards. Annihilation by Scott Hancock and Gary Russell. And Forever by David Wise. Then we have the Companion Chronicles, The Forbidden Time by David Locke, who I don't ever recall seeing that name ever. That is that is an interesting Second Doctor and Polly one with those big, gigantic, long-legged creatures. And I'll tell you, the Second Doctor has some really odd Companion Chronicles. Really odd. As I look up David Locke to see what he's done, this is the only release he's ever done for Big Finish. Interesting. I'm now curious. I'm going to go to the timescales to figure out what the average rate or rating for the Forbidden Time. Forbidden Time got a 7.5 by the fans of the timescales. That's not bad. At least it's not going to be showing up on any lists, but at least it's not going to be showing up on like one of the worst lists. So currently, like March so far, kind of meh. I guess you could say To the Death, very good. I actually enjoyed Industrial Evolution. I liked it better than the Feast of Axos. I think a lot of people like Feast of Axos more. The only thing I didn't particularly care for is the Colin Baker, We Are Axos and We Are Hungry. Didn't really enjoy that, but you know what? That's just my opinion right there. Then we go to the lightest month of all. Well, take that back. Second lightest month of all for 2011, which is April. April has only 3 releases. Now, I think the most important thing, actually, I only wrote 3 releases down because at this point in time, Big Finish was doing their drama showcase. So one of them that I didn't put down for March was the drama showcase, the Katie Manning, Not a Well Woman. And there is a really good one starring Louise Jameson. We did talk to her about that on our interview that myself and Liam did in, I want to say 2014 or so, maybe even 15. And I did bring that up in the interview. Yeah, it's called Pulling Faces with Louise Jameson and Helen Goldwyn, all about a former TV diva who was on the 50-something's birthdays and her idea to transform her beauty because, she's slowly getting older. So as I look at Big Finish's website, I did not include certain things. They were selling the Mervyn Stone Mysteries paperback books and also the showcase. But besides that, there was 3 releases for the month of April 2011. We have main range release 146, The Heroes of Sontar. And we have The Lost Stories rears its head once again in 2011 with the 3rd story in the 2nd season of The Lost Stories, Thin Ice by Mark Platt. And then we conclude with The Sentinels of the New Dawn by Paul Finch. Now, Sentinels of the New Dawn is, I really feel bad for, I want to say, the Third Doctor era's Companion Chronicles. I feel as though the 3rd and the 4th don't really have a good, consistent release. And I think the Third Doctor does have some of them, but the 4th Doctor, and this was back in the day before we had Tom Baker, we had Tim Treloar, who was voicing the 3rd Doctor. At the time, whenever we'd get a Lost Story, we would always have Fraser Hines voicing the 2nd Doctor. And then with the Companion Chronicles or in the full cast audio, we would have Peter Purvis or William Russell voicing the William Hartnell. You did have Caroline Ford do it too, as well as Polly, whose name currently escapes me. But yeah, this was, but before we started getting into finding and casting people with similar vocal tendencies or quirks and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll tell you, April, not the best month, but not the worst month either. And I will, again, put in a plug for the drama showcase, Pulling Faces. I did really like that. Again, check out, I want to say like 48, 49 of the podcast, maybe even around the early 40s for our our interview with Louise Jameson. Maybe I'll try to see if I can link that up. I had a good time. I accidentally hit a wrong button and did not use the proper microphone because I was so nervous talking to somebody that that's famous in the worlds of which I enjoy being a part of. So, yeah. May 2011 brings us main range release 147, Kiss of Death by Stephen Cole. This starts the Turlough trilogy, which is kind of like Lisa episodes in, well, I don't think Rat Trap was a Turlough episode, but you have May, and then you had, did I miss one? I thought there was another one. Oh, no. Kiss of Death? Isn't that a Turlough? No, that's not the Turlough trilogy. Yes, that is. This is the Turlough trilogy. Well, he wasn't really, I'm thinking of another thing too. Anyway, long story short, Turlough is the Doctor Who's, version of the Lisa episode in The Simpsons, at least when I was growing up. And those ones were always the ones to miss, or the ones to watch one time and then never again. The Kiss of Death, not great. The Lost Stories, again, season 2, episode 4. The Crime of the Century by Andrew Cartmel. You have the Doctor Who Short Trips, Volume 3. Again, if you'd like to buy it for $1.37, just wait for the Big Finish Miss sale. They always put that up there. And then you have the Companion Chronicles, Farrell's Folly, which is also a 4th Doctor story. This features Mary Tam, and this kind of is during the Key to Time series. So that's kind of interesting. But again, I don't think it is well loved. And I think the 4th Doctor's Companion Chronicles are the ones that suffer the most. Again, about this time, I feel as though the year of 2011 really started off really good in January, continued through March, and then we've kind of got a little lull right here in April and May. So now on to June. June, we are given the main range release, 148, Rat Trap by Tony Lee. And I am now really interested to find out what Tony Lee has done for Big Finish since then or before then. So let's just go see. Script edited by Alan Barnes. Okay. And Tony Lee has done in the box set of Bernie Summerfield Epoch, he did one of the stories. He's done a couple of stories in The Confessions of Dorian Gray. Or did he? Yeah, he did. I'm not sure which ones, but yeah, he is credited for, credited for writing a couple of Confessions of Dorian Gray, which I am a fan with. I think I like David Llewellyn's Dorian Gray scripts. His are generally a tad bit more strong. We do have Dark Shadows, but I didn't put them on my list because Liam's not here to talk and wax poetic about those. We have Jago and Lightfoot Series 3. Again, this is where things really start kind of getting more interesting with Jago and Lightfoot. We have Dead Man's Tales by Justin Richards, The Man at the End of the Garden by Matthew Sweet, Swan Song by John Dorney, and Chronoclasm by Andy Lane. We have The Lost Stories, episode 5 of the second series, Animal by Andrew Cartmel. I do not like Animal. I think that's probably one of the worst ones. But then there are some more worse ones. Then we get the second release of the Oliver Harper trilogy in the month of June, the 12th episode of the 5th season, The Cold Equation, again written by Simon Guerrier. One of my favorite things that Simon Guerrier does, he does it in his main range releases, he also does it in Companion Chronicles, is we generally are in the middle of a fight or fleeing from something, and then you start getting the story, the background, which leads you to where you first saw at the very beginning of the episode. He does it quite well. I believe he did it I don't think he wrote many main range stories. I'll have to check that. But yeah, if you have a chance to, I think Animal's the one that I don't particularly care for, but I will have to give that a look because I might be confusing it with the next one. But let me just see what Simon Guerrier's up to so I can be for sure. Oh, no, sorry. Earth Aid. Earth Aid sucks. Yes, that's the one. That's the one that comes out in, actually, I think Animal and Earth Aid both suck. So, yeah. So as I go through Simon Guerrier's writing things, he has written quite a lot of them. I'm just curious to find out how many main range releases he's done. One of these days, maybe I need to start doing some of these British. I knew that's one that he did because this one, okay, this is the one I was thinking at the most. And that is the main range release 82 entitled The Settling. Because, yeah, that takes place on the TARDIS where Hex and Ace are talking back and forth with each other. And then you kind of get the adventure, and then we kind of come back to some narration, and it's kind of back and forth. So sometimes the best part about that, and that's where, we're already at the end of the adventure, and it's being recounted to us. So we don't have to worry that there's any, nefarious, evil things that are going to happen to, make it so that one of those people does not come back alive. And, the companions and the Doctor that we do love and care for still continue on living, happy lives of existing until, they don't. Then, so, yeah, I think for me personally, I think June starts taking it up a notch again. Oh, never mind. Never mind. I saw Rat Trap and I just immediately changed my mind. And then Animal. Ugh. I mean, Jago and Lightfoot, that's where series 3 really starts taking off. The best thing that came out for me personally, Cold Equations by Simon Guerrier. I think that's actually my favorite of the Oliver trilogy. Moving on to July 2011, we have Robophobia, written by Nick Briggs, and this gives us Liv Chenka, the future Eighth Doctor's companion. This reintroduces the robots of death from the classic series episode entitled The Robots of Death. So, yeah, we have Nicola Walker, who is not reprising her role, is first initially seen as Liv Chenka in this Seventh Doctor story. I think it is fantastic. I think she's a fantastic talent. And I have loved her character when we first met her at Doom Coalition, I believe. Yeah, I think it's Doom Coalition. And then we do have a couple of Big Finish books that I never wrote. Again, Dark Shadows. We have a Drama Showcase that I didn't put in, which does feature Jeffrey Beavers and Toby Hadoke, which would be kind of interesting to check out. Earth Aid is... I think I like Earth Aid more than Animal. I think Animal sucks. I think it does. You still have you have those stupid aliens that sound like California Surfer dudes, which would be totally something that I could imagine the Seventh Doctor, the 80s, early 90s Seventh Doctor writers would be really into for some reason, and would just be cringy. Yeah. And then, let's see, you end the month of July 2011 with the introductory story, the 6th season of the Companion Chronicles, Tales from the Vault, which this was like something that was really fun. Because usually in the Companion Chronicles, you have the title, you have written by, and then you have the Doctor's face under it. But with this one, you have the TARDIS in that spot, and you have 4 faces. You have Zoe, Stephen, let's see, who else? Let me just open it up because I remember Zoe, Stephen, and you had Joe's story. But who else? Okay. Oh, you had Romana 1. So you have Mary Tam. And then the neat thing with this one is they grabbed Daphne Ashbrook from the Doctor Who movie, the TV movie, the Paul McGann TV movie, not reprising her role, coming in and working with Doctor Who probably for the first time since 1996. And she's playing Captain Ruth Matheson. And then you have Yi Ji So, who is Warrant Officer Charlie Sato, who also was a character. I can't think of what either one of their names are because I think the TV movie is less than enjoyable. But this is written by Jonathan Morris. And again, I feel as though Jonathan Morris is such a fantastic talent, writing talent. He is my favorite writer for Doctor Who. So I think July, we're starting to get back on the wagon regarding quality with Robophobia, Tales of the Vault. And then, of course, you do have the Earth Aid, which, you know what, at least it could be worse. Because starting us off for the month of August 2011, we have the Companion Chronicles, the specials. Yes, we have those stories that were featured in the 3 Companions, The Mist of Time, and Freak Shows. I kind of like what Big Finish was experimenting with. I believe they started doing this around, Forgotten Blue Planet and whatnot, where they would have like a 10-15 minute snippet of the 3 Companions and whatnot. And they just compiled all these into this specials, which doesn't do Thomas Brewster's character any good whatsoever. I mean, the only thing I can say is he's still more likable than Hebe. That's all I can say. You have a couple of Dark Shadows releases. Doctor Who Monthly Adventures 150. So this is one of those, if I were to compare it to a comic book, I would say that this is more of an annual, as you have 4 stories. It's called Recorded Time, and you have Recorded Time by Catherine Harvey, Paradoxicide by Richard Dinnick, A Most Excellent Match by Matt Fitton, and Question Marks by Philip Lawrence. All right, now, me being me, let's just see what Catherine Harvey has done since. So it looks like, did she do a story there? Okay, so Catherine Harvey adapted the Lost Story, The Queen to Time. She did one other in the, again, I'm going to say comic book wise, this would be an annual, the Doctor Who Main Range 1001 Nights. She did, it's giving her credit for Voyage to Venus, but that's Jonathan Morris. So is she a voice actor in there, or where is Catherine Harvey? Yeah, she is a voice actress in Voyage to Venus. Okay. And yeah. Well, now I'm going to just check to see if she's a voice actress in, let's see, 1001 Nights. Yeah, she is. She did, so Main Range release 168. She did the story, well, there's so many different stories within this that kind of loop together. So she's just one of the writers, one of the 4 writers. So, all right. I thought 1001 Nights was probably one of my more favorite annual quote unquote releases from the Main Range. Then you have Short Trips Volume 4. Again, if you'd like to pick this up for $2.11, just wait for it to be released on specials for the Big Finishmas, because it's always available. And if this is the first year that they don't do that, you can blame me, and I will take the blame. I don't know what would be doing with the blame, but I will hold it and wait for you to figure out what you'd like to do with it. One of these days, I will listen to the Short Trips. I remember picking them up for like $5. I'm not sure each, maybe $3 each for one of the Big Finish sales, and I've had them forever. Never listened to them, but I've had them forever. And then the month of August concludes with another strong companion chronicle. This is written by John Dorney, and this is The Rocket Men. This is an Ian Chesterton-centric tale, which does incorporate the love story, the beginnings of a love story between Ian and Barbara. And that's always great to kind of have that kind of more delved into. I think, again, not a strong month, but man, what a way to end it. And you know what? As I think about this, as I think about and discuss the whole Oliver trilogy, talking about the Nigel Fairs and Leela trilogy that they did, I think there's 4 parts to that one. But why did we not get a Rocketman trilogy? I really feel like I was robbed. You had Ian Chesterton in the first one. You had Return of the Rocketman. You had Peter Purvis doing the Stephen Taylor one. Like, you could do a Polly Rocketman. You could do a Jamie Rocketman. Ooh, that would be a good one. A Jamie Rocketman. Anyway, that being said, let's just move on to September 2011. And we have 2 main range releases because, again, whenever you get a year, I like that Big Finish would do 13 releases in a year. And then they would also give you a subscriber special. Big Finish, if you're listening, would love subscriber specials more than just the short trips that, according to the app right now, I have no idea how to gain access to the new stuff. I know how to get access to the old stuff, but you know what? With your new stuff, you'd better be working on a way to be able to download that, because it was pushed out and I think either forgotten about or it was, we'll figure that out later. And when people spend thousands of dollars on, or hundreds, thousands of dollars on your stuff, you should not be reactionary. You should have been proactive in that. But that is just my opinion. So 2 main range releases. We have 151, which is the Doomsday Quatrain by Emma Beebe and Gordon Rennie. I did not like this one at all, which was great because the following main range release, 152, is the House of Blue Fire, which, as I was looking at it, I remember liking it a lot. And I was reading some releases and they said the first 2 acts were solid. Just the act 3 and 4 kind of things got a little loosey-goosey or whatnot. And I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment right there. We have Bernie Summerfield Epoch box set. So this is like one of the last Bernie Summerfield's, I think, box sets for quite some time. And then we end the month with the Companion Chronicles, episode 3 of the 6th season, The Memory Cheats. This is, again, I believe that is the Zoe trilogy. And I think that is a Zoe trilogy. And I believe is this her daughter that's in this one? I know her daughter appears in one of the Companion Chronicles. Not Zoe, but the actress who plays Zoe. My mind's a fog right now. You just scream it at your iPhone or MP3 player, and I promise I will hear it. Anyway, that being said, I do need to do a retro review of trilogies. I think that'd be fun. I think that would be super, super fun. All right. Okay, Brett, make sure that you put that down on the list. Trilogy, you got that? Sure thing, boss. That's the spirit. Thank you. All right. And as we wind down for 2011, we have main range release 153, Silver Turk by Mark Platt. Now, the instant I saw the cover art for the Silver Turk, I immediately made sure that I pre-ordered the physical copy of the monthly adventures so that I also could get the special monthly focus of everything, or because the previous year's monthly focus was the 4 Doctors. This one will be the 5 Companions, and it was promised that they will never be available to be purchased individually unless you have a actual subscription for, I'm not sure if these 2 months, but there was some kind of like specific thing that they were looking at doing. And this is the 8th Doctor returning to the main range before he heads off to do his Dark Eyes 4-part box sets, which again, I think I need to re-listen to all 4 of those and then re-listen to the Doomsday, the Doom Coalition. Ah, man, that's going to be fun, actually, thinking about that. The Silver Turk, though, even though it introduces Mary Shelley, and as we first met the 8th Doctor in the Storm Warning, talking to himself about Mary Shelley, so this kind of like maybe leads us into meeting Charlie and whatnot, is going to be quite interesting. I'm not sure if where this is located, and I could look this up on the Big Finish listeners group, but you know what? I laughy faced emoji, so I'm no longer privy to seeing a spreadsheet that somebody created with the plausibilities of timelines. So, I have that going against me. But regardless, it's a fun, Silver Turk is an okay story. The cover art is actually perhaps the best cover art you could ever own. And I'm glad that I own it. I think I may have sold it. I've bought this physically 3 different times because of sales. And I've sold, I know 2 of them. I'm not sure about 3, but I know I've sold 2 of them for more money than I bought them for. So, winning hashtag. The Lost Stories, The Fourth Doctor Adventures. We have The Foe from the Future by Robert Banks Stewart, which was adapted by John Dorney. I kind of liked Foe from the Future, but I also felt as though it dragged. I really felt like Foe from the Future dragged. I think I'm probably one of the only ones that feels that way. But it was a 6-parter. I think it was kind of obvious. I feel as though the villain was very slow in doing their nefariousness, but you could also say that that's generally how they always do certain things. But Foe from the Future, I feel as though kind of slow. The Valley of Death by Philip Hinchcliffe and adapted by Jonathan Morris. I like that one more than Foe from the Future. Then you have Lost Stories, Series 3, Episode 1, The Elite by Barbara Clegg and adapted by John Dorney. I think this is probably one of the higher ones that to be released in 2011 for the Lost Stories range. Then you have The Many Deaths of Joe Grant, written by Kevin Scott and Mark Wright, which is so interesting to see both of those names together because I don't think I've seen them together on a title in many, many years. So October, I think, started off pretty good, ended. I might have to re-listen to The Many Deaths of Joe Grant because it's not memorable. Like I said, the Third Doctor Companion Chronicles, not as memorable. At least there's more stakes in them than the Second Doctor. I feel as though the Second Doctor, for especially Zoe's, it's always a misunderstood alien. I didn't mean to kill you. I just wanted to give you a hug and a kiss, and I electrocuted you. My bad. Anyway, I was going to say the Fourth Doctor. November. As we're concluding 2011, we have The Witch from the Well, written by Rick Briggs, which Legion had to listen to for one of our gift exchanges or our randomizer thing. And I listened along with him. That is not a good story. That is not a good story at all. However, following up on its heels, though, we do have the conclusion to the Oliver trilogy, which is the first wave written by Simon Guerrier, which is fantastic. Again, you had a trilogy spaced out throughout an entire year. It started out in February of 2011. Part 1 was there. So then you go March, April, May, and then June, you have the Cold Equation. So 3-month time period. Then you go July, August, September, October. So 4 months in between. So you have a trilogy, and that was all delved out. And at the time, we didn't know that it was a trilogy. But you have a trilogy that all came out within an entire year. You just had to wait, and there was no teasing. I mean, I can't remember. Maybe I should do like the Wayback Machine to figure out what the Big Finish website looked like at that time. But I don't feel as though we knew that it was a trilogy. I believe in the second part of the extended extras, it was discussed there that it was going to be a trilogy. But besides that, I mean, all we have to do is just say, hey, we were winning with that. Lost Stories, 3rd season, episode 2, Hexagora by Paul Finch, from a story by Peter Ling and Hazel Haidar. I don't recall Hexagora. Maybe I should re-listen to that. And then we finally come to December of 2011, The Army of the Dead, which I thought was over the top at the time, kind of fun, not great, but a lot better than The Witch from the Well. Then you have the subscriber special, The 5 Doctors by Eddie Robson. You have Graceless Series 2 by Simon Guerrier, which, if you like Graceless, good for you. Then you have The Lost Stories, The Children of Seth by Christopher Bailey and Mark Platt. And concluding the last Companion Chronicles for 2011, The Beyond the Ultimate Adventure by Terrance Dicks. Wow. I am just curious how many releases Terrance Dicks put his name on working for Big Finish. Because I know Liam, I believe, asked him that at one of the Hoovervilles, and he responded with, "Hey, you know what? You give me money, I'll do anything for money." So, which I understand, but okay. So here is his writing credits. He did the Sarah Jane Smith Come Back story. You also had the Doctor Who The Ultimate Adventures, which was adapted from a stage play. Then you had the Keys to Doomsday, which was also adapted from a stage play. You had the Ultimate Adventure, Beyond the Ultimate Adventures, which is Companion Chronicle. And then, according to this, we have a Bernice Summerfield audiobook entitled, let's see, with short stories, which has written, these are the credits that is given. So it says Ben Aronovich, Andrew Cartmel, Paul Cornell, Terrance Dicks, Stephen Moffat, Kate Orme, and Robert Sherman. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Stephen Moffat wrote that. Yeah, so he really didn't do much in for Big Finish, but just having him there, and also having like the what is it, the warrior from the Five Doctors on the cover art. I know that one does not get a lot of love, and I think I've owned it for years. I think I picked it up on like a $1.99 sale years and years ago. I haven't listened to it, but you know what, $1.99, hard to shake a stick at, or really easy, just depending on the size of the stick. So, with that being said, I'm going to give you my top 10 favorite releases from Big Finish for 2011. And I do have a particular order because that would be insane to give a list of favorites and not have a number one. Because, these titles shouldn't have their feelings hurt. So, yes. All right. Starting off at number 10, I have Companion Chronicles, Series 6, Episode 1, Tales from the Vault by Jonathan Morris. Again, you have so many different companions. It works together. It's almost like a found footage type of a situation, sort of, kind of, but also not really. It's almost, if you listen to, or if you've watched the classic 80s series called Friday the 13th, the series has nothing to do with Jason. It has all to do with a curio shop that has lots of various evil and possessed items. And so you have, and that would be kind of interesting if they would focus more on the vault and could they do that? Could Doctor Who pull off a Friday the 13th, the series type of a storyline? I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be a night. I would be all for it. And I know they did this a little bit later with The Master, but I think this one is really quite fun. And it did remind me of a great TV show that I loved back from the late 80s, early 90s. Then you have number 9 on my list, Short Lost Stories, 3rd season, episode 1, The Elite by Barbara Clegg and John Dorney. This features the 5th Doctor, I believe, Nyssa and Tegan. And you have Nyssa basically kind of being mind controlled with the twist villain, which is on the cover, but twist villain, a Dalek. But I think there is no casing on the Dalek, if memory serves me right. Anyway, I know there's no casing on the cover art, but I'm not sure if that also includes in the actual story, because it's been a while. It has been a while. Anyway, Companion Chronicles number 8 is my list, and this is series 6 episode, not episode. Well, maybe, yeah, episode 5, The First Wave by Simon Guerrier. Now, this is the conclusion to the Oliver trilogy. I think that this is great. I would also love if Big Finish and or RTD or a future showrunner would use the Vardens as a villain, because I think, CGI could do so much better with the Vardens and possibly make them even more evil than perhaps an oversized dog. That actually doesn't make any sense, especially if you're a Big Finish listener or whatnot, or have watched the 50th anniversary, but that's besides the point. Number 7 on my top 10 favorite lists is The Perpetual Bond. This is the first story of the Oliver trilogy. So the last story is number 8. The third story is... No. First story is number 7 on my list. So I guess that means either the second one is not even on there, or it's on there a little bit higher. We'll just have to wait and see. But again, the Oliver trilogy, fantastic. There's a secret. I feel as though I'm glad it came out when it did, because I could feel like if it came out around now or a couple of years ago, I think people would be one of the twists. I think people would have been really annoyed at, but I feel as though it works in this story, and it was at a time where things were not constantly beating you over the head with. Even though we did have the 24-hour news cycle, I feel as though we were not at the extreme polar opposites with the news cycle as we currently are, which just gets grating for somebody who is just in the middle and just wants everybody to get along. Anyway, that's me on my political rant right there. Number 6, main range release. Number 146, which is, let me just cue something up. Sorry about that. I shouldn't have ever closed that window down. This is fantastic. Isn't it? Isn't this just fantastic right here? There we are. Got that running. All right. So this is 146. Oops, sorry. Let me just. All right. 146. Written by Alan Barnes. Main range release 146. I can't, for some reason, I won't stop saying that number. Featuring the 5th Doctor, played by Peter Davison. We have Janet Fielding as Tegan. Mark Strickson as Turlo. And Sarah Sutton as Nyssa. This is Heroes of Santar. And I think this is kind of one of those, could be really fantastic stories that I don't think I think this one could be underrated, in all honesty. I'm going to give this my underrated Rassilon Award winner of my list. All right, anyway. That was fun, right? Yeah, just smile and nod. Yeah, smile and nod. Next, number 5. We're halfway through my top 10 list. Subscriber special, Doctor Who 5 Companions, written by Eddie Robson. This is fun because, what happened to all the companions that didn't show up for the 5 Doctors? Well, this gives us a interesting look at all of that. Here's another interesting thing that I think would be fun for, as we're getting ready to do in the future, 2025 or whatnot. We have the War Against the Land of the Sea. I think it would be fun if Big Finish would put together a group of companions like Nyssa, Zoe, and Steven. I think those 3 together would be, and then, I think you'd need to you have all these geniuses. So, you'd think, why don't you put Adric in there? No. I think you really mess things up by putting Ace in there. I think that would be fun. Or you could always put Tegan in there and just get on everybody's nerves. But I think I would like them to be companions that were never companions together. But yeah, do an Ace, Nyssa, Steven, and Zoe, 4 companions thing. That could be fun. And all currently the actors, as of date of recording, are still with us. Anyway, 5 Companions, great story. Number 4 is main range release 143, The Crimes of Thomas Brewster. I love this story. I actually own 2 copies of it on CD. I've tried to figure out how I could send this to England and get Colin Baker, the doctor that was born on the same day that I was born. He came first. So, yeah. But my birthday buddy, 6th Doctor, Colin Baker, I would love for him to sign the cover to this story, The Crimes of Thomas Brewster, which has the best 6th Doctor companion. Then you have the best, somebody who should be the 6th Doctor's companion. And then you do have an eventual future companion, all within the crimes of, and Thomas Brewster, who was kind of, I guess you could say, a companion light or diet companion for the Doctor. I absolutely just love the crimes of Thomas Brewster. It might not be the best, but I do thoroughly enjoy it. Next, number 3. Number 3. What? Where was I? I did the cold equation. Then I did, number 2. Thank you. Number 2. Thank you, brain. I have Companion Chronicles, Series 5, Episode 7, Perry and the Piscon Paradox by Nev Fountain. This is a fantastic story. This is old Perry versus young Perry. This is 5th Doctor kind of versus 6th Doctor. This is high emotions and also comedy at the same exact time. It is one of the best Companion Chronicles of all time. I give Solitaire and some of the Rocket Men higher nods, but this is up there. This is fantastic. And the only one that is higher than Perry and the Piscon Paradox on my top 10 favorite releases from Big Finish for 2011 is Series 6, Episode 2, The Rocket Men by John Dorney. The series, the episode that we didn't know that we were missing in the classic era until this episode came along. We didn't know what we were missing until this came along, and then we realized we're missing a lot. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoy The Rocket Men. I actually like Return of the Rocket Men more, in all honesty. But yeah. All right. So now for the fans' top 10 most favorite releases from Big Finish for the year of 2011. And I will go in the order and there are a couple of them that are doubled up. And then I stopped doubling them up because I think the list would have been super long because of the similarities in review. Anyway, so I have 11 on there, but you know what? It's okay because Liam would have like 21 on his top 10 and it just evens itself out. So number 10 on the timescales, top 10 highest ranked releases from Big Finish, that would be Jago Lightfoot Series 2. The average rating of all 4 of those stories comes in at 8 5/100ths of a point. That 5/100ths really did matter because it was the difference between that and another release. Number 9, we have Gallifrey Series 4 with 8 15/100ths of a point, or 8.15. Anyway, and again, that did matter because, and so far, obviously you've heard my list. Neither one of those are on there. There's not a lot of things that are on my list compared to the top 10 highest rated by fans on the timescales. So it's kind of fun to see people's likes and dislikes and, is still enjoying the fandom that is Doctor Who. Number 8 is the Lost Story, the 4th Doctor Lost Stories, The Foe from the Future, which has an average rating of 8.8, and The Valley of Death, which had a rating of 7.6. The average brings it to 8.2. Number 7, main range release number 148, Robophobia by Nick Briggs. Again, fantastic story. We get Livchenka as a companion that gets introduced here and reappears and is really, I think, well loved. Possibly even maybe, dare I say, underrated companion. Number 6 on this list is Lost Stories release 3.1, The Elite by Barbara Clegg and John Dorney, with an average rating of 8.3. Now, number 5, we have a two-way tie. We have The First Wave, written by Simon Guerrier, with an average rating of 8.4, and The Rocket Man, written by John Dorney, also with an 8.4. Main range release 153. This one shocked me. This one really did shock me because I miss something? Like, I think I could easily make a case for all of these being on a top 10 list, except for this one. And this is number 4. And I'm trying to figure out what I missed. And I may have to re-listen to it. But number 4, main range release 153, The Silver Turk by Mark Platt, with an average rating of 8.6. Not sure how that got there. But maybe I need to start reading some reviews of The Silver Turk, and maybe that will give me kind of a clue in on that. Number 8. Whoops. There's my microphone. Hi, Mike. Number 8. No, not number 8. Number 3, Eighth Doctor Adventures, Lucy Miller by Nick Briggs. Number 2, Perry on the Piscon Paradox by Neve Fountain, with an average rating of 9.1. And number 1 on the highest rated by the fans of the timescales release from Big Finish for 2011 is To the Death by Nick Briggs, with an average rating of 9.2. All right. Well, if we're going to do a top 10 highest ranked releases from 2011, we need to do a lowest ranked, or the bottom of, not the bottom of the barrel, because there is so many. Like, some of these, I'm like, that's not that bad. And then you look at a couple of them, like, yeah, that is that bad. Oh, so is that one. So is that one. In fact, dare I say, I think there's only one of these that I would re-listen to, and I have re-listened to it a couple of times, and I don't have a problem with it. So number 10 from the top 10 ranked Big Finish releases from 2011 is Lost Stories 3.2 Hexagora by Paul Finch, with an average rating of 6.8. Number 9 also had an average score of 6.8. And again, because of the amount of the lack of releases, if they were putting out as many things as they are now, I think I would probably have a little bit longer of list and would have doubled up some of these things. But because of the lack of releases, I didn't want to have a huge top 10 list. I didn't want to have a huge bottom 10 list. So yeah, with the average score of 6.8, we have the Lost Stories 2.4, The Crime of the Century by Andrew Cartmel. Number 8, with an average rating also of 6.8, we have main range release 155, Army of the Death by Jason Arnott. Number 7, with an average rating of 6.7, we have main range release 145, Industrial Evolution by Eddie Robson. Number 6, we have, with an average score of 6.6, main range release 148, Rat Trap by Tony Lee. I almost said Tommy Lee. Number 5, with an average rating of 6.5, we have, written by Emma Beebe, by Gordon Renee, main range release 151, The Doomsday Quatrain. Number 4 on the bottom 10 is, with an average rating of 6.5, written by Stephen Cole, Kiss of Death. Number 3, Companion Chronicles, with an average rating of 6.1, Series 5, Episode 11, Farrell's Folly by Peter Angelides. Now, number 2 on the bottom 10 ranked lists or releases from Big Finish for 2011, with an average rating of 6 3/100 point. the Companion Chronicles, the specials. This includes the 3 companions, The Mist of Time, and Freak Show. I think I like The Mist of Time. Oddly, it's written by Jonathan Morris. How odd is that? And number 1, the worst, as rated by the fans on the timescales, liked release from Big Finish for 2011, Companion Chronicles, Series 6, Episode 6, Beyond the Ultimate Adventure by Terrance Dicks, with an average rating of 5.0. All right. Well, that will conclude this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that this gives you, anybody that's listening for the first time, some good jumping on points, some good suggestions. Those of you that have been here or have been with Big Finish for a while, what are some of your thoughts? Comment down below on the YouTube channel. I do get them and I do read them. Or you could email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. You can tweet the show at Alhambra Podcast. DMs are open. And until next time, I will see you in time.
You have been listening to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Doctor Who is owned and trademarked by the BBC. Doctor Who Alhambra is not affiliated with the BBC or Big Finish. No infringement is intended. Visit our website at alhambrapodcast.weebly.com or email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. Tweet us at Alhambra Podcast. That is ALHAMBRA Podcast. Thank you.